Welcome to the Time Advantage, the podcast for mid-career professionals who want to reach senior leadership without burnout. I'm your host, Amir. Today's guest is Rehan Ahmed, a seasoned restructuring expert and licensed insolvency practitioner with over 20 years of experience guiding businesses through transformation across the UK and internationally. In this episode, Rehan shares the practical steps, systems, and mindset shifts that helped him go from technical expert to strategic leader, and what professionals like you can take from his journey. Hi, Rehan. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Hi guys, I'm good. I'm good. It's bright sunny day, so we're gonna have some fun today, I think.
So, Rehan, to give our listeners some context, what kind of challenges or responsibilities are you focused on today, and what does leadership look like in your current role?
Yeah, so in terms of myself, I am an insolvency practitioner. I currently am the managing director of Quantuma Advisory, where we specialize in business restructuring, turnaround, and insolvency. Um, as a business, we have around 500 staff across the UK and a number of international sites as well. In terms of myself, I run a team of about 25 people locally, as well as help with various other management decisions across the business. Now,
Looking back, what was a key turning point that made you realize it was time to evolve from operational delivery into strategic leadership?
I think well, one of the major things that um, I worked out quite early on um, was, and in the professional services industries, most people probably relate to this in that if they're in that industry, is that we all have timesheets to fill in, and we all have hourly rates, and we all have certain hourly rates that we have to, you know, let the client know that this is what we are charging. Now, when I started my own business, I was doing everything. Every single part of the job was my I'm doing it. But then it got to a point where I was like, this particular piece of work or this particular thing that I'm doing is I'm charging more than what I can do, what I should be, what this costs. So if it was a simple admin piece of work, I could probably outsource it or get a junior member of staff to do it for less than what I'm actually charging the client for. So I realized that in order to make this work and make it more profitable and viable, I need to start to learn how to delegate out or even hire people. So either hire people, delegate it, or outsource it, and that would help make the business more efficient. So that was one of the big changes, because then that made me look at the business and look at my roles and what I'm doing and say, right, okay, if this is not worth, let's say, £100 an hour, what I'm doing is not worth £100 an hour, then get someone else to do it. And you've got to have the confidence to say, right, okay, I'm going to pass that thing or let go of this piece of thing that I'm doing and give it to someone else who is not £100 an hour. That doesn't mean it's less demeaning for them. It just means you're being proactive and you're actually um, being more efficient with your time. So that was I think one of the biggest changes that helped me look at the business as a whole, look at me as a whole, and say, right, okay, how do I become more efficient and proactive myself?
Mm, great. That's very helpful. So, the next question I have here is, what specific steps helped you position yourself for leadership? Was it visibility, relationship building, developing new skills, or something else?
So, so it might sound obvious, but as a leader, you have to lead. It's as simple as that. You gotta be in a position, or you gotta have the confidence to be able to lead and make decisions. You've got to put yourself out there and make those decisions, and you've got to make the decisions with confidence. If you're dithering and not making a decision, you will look weak. You've got to be clinical about decision and do it. Uh, the thing is, right? Look, people, whether people are confident or not, there's always, for some reason, there's always people are worried that the decision that they make is going to be wrong. Well, if you're gonna have that mindset, you're never gonna get anywhere in life or in terms of leadership roles, because people make wrong decisions. There are plenty of leaders in the world who we can name probably quite a few, especially in recent times, who have made some absolutely crazy decisions, but they're making decisions and people are blindly following them. So you've got to make decisions, and sometimes you will get it wrong, but you've got to be in that position where you are making the decision uh, and have the confidence to make it. So you've got to learn to uh, to do that. Um, but then the other thing is with especially in professional services, you also got to know the subject matter as well to a certain degree. You can't just go blindly and go in and not know the subject and make a decision and then look absolutely stupid. So you've got to get to that position so in your career. And it could be 2 years in, it could be 3 years in, it could be 5 years in, but whenever you're confident enough to know you've got a grasp of the subject matter. Um, and then start to make leadership decisions or start to make calls and decisions into what certain things are happening on your cases or on your work that you're doing, because if you don't make the decision, someone else will, and someone else will take the credit for it. So you've got to start doing, and you don't have to be a master in your field at that stage. Because if you look at again, going back to leaderships, most of the leaders aren't the expert in that market. They don't have a doctorate, or they don't have, they're not the best person in the world in engineering, or in my case, they're not the best person in the world in insolvency. But the difference is they know their subject matter and they know how to make decisions. So you've got to have that nice mix of expertise and being able to make decisions. So that's the one thing. Um, the other thing they need to look at is you need to be visible. You need to, especially to your bosses, you need to, they need to know you exist. Because, look, I mean, my team in my local team, I've got 25 people. In the whole company, there's 500 people who don't all directly answer to me, but there are certain people in that 500 that I know quite well. Why? Because they reach out to me. Why? Because they make decisions. They tell me this is what's going to happen. So there's people that you need to reach out, not reach out, but be seen as well in your business, because people will forget you. Um, the world is fickle, to be honest. If you're not seen, you're nobody. You're not known. So reach out to your seniors, ask them if they need any support. Be willing to sort of get stuck in, and be willing to sort of go out that extra mile. That doesn't mean suck up to your boss. Don't buy him bloody coffee. Don't do any of that nonsense. Do the work and go over and above um, your skill set, to sort of, you know, raise your profile. So visibility is definitely an important factor. Um, but I think the main point definitely is make a decision and be bold in your decisions.
In your journey, was there a pivotal moment, a case, a turnaround, a client success that really accelerated your credibility and visibility as a leader?
And for me, it was actually my first year. I graduated and came into the insolvency practice I worked for. That first year, within 6 months or so, I was delivering 25% of the case progressions. So of the whole the team, I was delivering 25%. Now the team consisted of about 12 people, so I was doing 25% of the work. Uh, that was because I'd got grasp of the industry, or the processes. I understood the legislation and the law around it, and I worked out how to make it fit and make it work so that we're satisfying the rules, we're being efficient, and we're using technology to actually make it all become more efficient. So once they realized that, they actually said, well, how are you doing it and what are you doing differently, and what how can we utilize your skill set or your technique to make everyone else doing what you're doing. So that gave me, it almost gave me a sort of stepping stone to say, right, okay, this is, so I then told people how we're doing it, what we're doing, and what how to make it more efficient. So that helped me grow my position in the business. And then naturally other as we delivered that project, other projects were handed to me saying, right, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? So that was I think that was the stepping stone that helped me propel myself within that business. Later on, uh, I got to a stage where I exited that business and then set up my own business, and then that was just me being a leader myself. So there was lots of leadership. When you run your own business, you have to make decisions and you have to lead. And so there's lots of things I implemented within my own business, which probably came, well, a lot of it came from the experience that I gained in that sort of 4 or 5 years, 5 years that I was in this other insolvency practice.
Mm. I know before we started the podcast, we were talking about how you came into the industry, and it was a bit of a different one in the sense that where you're now an insolvency practitioner or in that line of work, you have actually have a legal background. So different, I mean, it highlights the importance of having, different skill sets in the work that you do and the value that you can bring. So it'd be good if you could touch upon some of that.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, I did a law degree. So I trained to be a lawyer, did all the LPC, which is what was LPC back then, to become a actual lawyer. And I was at the time my LPC was very corporate orientated, so M&A, commercial property, commercial litigation. So it's very corporate orientated. And I got a few training contract offers for immigration and criminal law and family law, which I refused to take on. I just didn't want to do that industry. Uh, which at the time everyone's like, "Are you crazy? You're saying no to training contracts?" Which training contracts were gold dust and still are. 20 years later, still gold dust. It's very hard to get one. So I rejected one, much to the anger of my parents and probably the anger of my lecturers saying, "What are you doing?" So I went to work for insolvency practice and never looked back, to be honest. So a lot of the insolvency industry go through the conventional ACCA route and do ACCAs or ACA and all that kind of stuff and then become insolvency practitioners. So it's a very conventional route for a lot of people. It's not a prerequisite. ACCA is not prerequisite to insolvency. It helps, but I think doing law personally, I think having a legal background is probably better because there's a lot more law involved in insolvency, and there's a lot more legal matters that you have to consider. So I personally think insolvency, law and insolvency probably go better than accountancy insolvency. But then going one step further, um, when I exited my own business, when I exited to settle my own business, I then uh, didn't go through the senior manager, assistant manager, director, associate director, partner route. I got sort of skipped that middle bit because I then set up my own practice and helped grow my own business from there and get people uh, grow my own staff to help them become insolvency practitioners. In fact, some of them have already become insolvency practitioners over the sort of 10, 15 years that we've been running a business ourselves. So whilst my route isn't a conventional starting as an apprentice and then becoming a partner, it's starting in a business, exiting, setting up my own business, and then coming back into a corporate entity. So some of the experiences are also because of my own experience of running a business.
Mm. You deal with intense, high stakes work. How have you managed your time, energy, and team across multiple active cases and clients?
I think the one of the biggest things with dealing with cases and dealing with multiple cases is building a team. You have to have a strong team around you, um, and they have to be that is the essential part of being successful. And if you look at a lot of people, they will always credit other people. They'll credit their team to say, right, because of these people, I've got there. And I'm the same. There are certain people in my career who I will give a lot of credit for, and without them, this dream, let's call it a dream, would never have happened. So you definitely need a good team around you. Um, in terms of um, yourself, you need to still be organized. You still need to know what the plan is. You still need to have a almost like a checklist, a day-to-day checklist, or yeah, I suppose a daily checklist of saying, look, this is who I'm seeing today, this is what I'm doing today. Um, so you know what your plan is for the day or plans for the week, because you need to have a goal and you need to have objectives in place, and those objectives are what are going to push the business or push yourself forward, um, because you need to demonstrate that you are progressing yourself. You need to demonstrate that you are improving yourself on a day-to-day basis, because your bosses are then going to say, are going to make you accountable. Say, right, how have you developed yourself, and how have you hit the certain KPIs that you're trying to that we've set for you? What have you done to make them happen? So you need to have um, a target of how you're going to make that happen. And I have it so that I will always have a day-to-day sort of a daily checklist of this is my task for the day, and this is what I want to, this is what I need to do to achieve certain other objectives. So you need to have those in play all the time, and almost work backwards. Say, right, this is the end goal. How are we going to get there? So you need to have those checklists and progresses in place to make that happen. And it certainly is a helpful tool for yourself. The other thing I think definitely is a big part is that classic saying of, you work hard and you play harder. You've got to switch off as well. Um, do not work 24/7. Um, make sure you are switching off and doing other things outside of your work, um, because you need that time to relax. You need that time to switch off. Um, even even I tell my team, you haven't taken holidays, get lost, book something, get out, because you if you're not refreshed, or if you're not fresh, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna start resenting what you're doing, and you're gonna start hating it. So you need to take time off and take time away from the business, because guess what? Uh, the business are going to be there. It's still going to be there. I mean, I'll give you an example. So the best part of 10, 12 years, right? I ran, because when we were running our own business, it was 24/7. It was 24/7. Even the laptop came to me with holidays, and the laptop came with me everywhere. We sold the business, and then about 3 years ago now, yeah, 3 years ago, I left my laptop at home for 2 weeks, went away, went to Saudi, and then went to Dubai for 2 weeks. Uh, didn't take the laptop, didn't answer emails, switched the emails off, to be honest. And guess what? The business is still here. The business didn't collapse without me. And I can tell you right now, if you're not there, you know, in more of in a lot of these businesses, if you're not there, the business will still survive. So you need to switch off, and make sure you're getting a rest, even on the weekends, or I I still do stuff over the weekend, because I just habit, I suppose. But you need to have other activities, even if it is on the weekends or evenings. If it's a gym, or if it's, I mean, I play cricket, I play golf. They're my sort of chill out times. And I'm also these days dad's taxi, so I'm driving kids here, there, and everywhere. So you know you have to have other activities that you can switch off from your work. So definitely one I would suggest is um get have a break as well.
Hmm. The next question has certain overlaps with the previous one, and that is that what systems, tools, or habits have helped you stay strategic rather than reactive, especially when pressure is high?
The I think relevant, more so what I've said earlier, that's definitely relevant, organizations and being organized for yourself. But the new thing on the block is AI. And I think using technology and AI is so vital right now. And especially when it comes to automation, there's so much tools out there that you can use that would help streamline businesses, streamline what you're doing, and make life easy for you. And I think that's so important right now. I mean, I use certain apps for minuting my meetings. I'll use certain apps to check what I'm saying is correct. what I'm saying is uh, not legally correct, but um, makes sense from what I'm writing and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of tools out there right now which um, I think people should be using to help develop themselves and also help them in making time for themselves in the business. Because if we've got AI which will help, which speeds up things, right, that'll give you more time in the day to develop yourself, to do some self-development, to do other things that will help propel your career. So embrace technology because it ain't going anywhere. If anything, it's going to help you. So all this nonsense about technology can take your jobs, well, it isn't going to take your jobs because especially in professional services, there is an element of the expertise which AI can't do. And applying that expertise to individual circumstances, AI can't do. So embrace technology, make it a tool to help you. And I think that's certainly something that helps.
What mindset shift was essential for you in stepping up, especially as someone working in a field where you're both advisor and decision maker at times?
Um, the big thing I think is you got to think like a business owner. Um, you got to look at saying, right, okay, is this project I'm doing making money? Is the quote I'm quoting the right level of quote? Are we gonna, is it gonna be a profitable business exercise? You know, are we gonna get sued? You got to start thinking like a business owner, and you got to have the confidence to sometimes say no. And, so I've had sort of, and we do it regularly where people come to us and say, "Oh, so and so down the road is quoting us X," and I'm like, well then go there. You got to be in a position to say no, and then that makes a big difference. So you got to look at it. You got to look at it as your own business, and you got to treat it like your own business because that will help you um, understand how to grow a practice, how certain things operate in the business. So that's certainly something you've got to do. And when it comes to decision making, I think from my perspective, I mean, I grew up making decisions. Even when I was younger, all my cousins, all the kids' neighbors, and all that kind of stuff, they'd all come to me and say, "Right, okay, Ben, how do we do this?" Or can you sort this out? So over growing up, I almost became de facto leader of the pack. I helped set up the local football teams, the local cricket teams. I helped set up I became captain of certain football teams and certain cricket teams, not because I was the best footballer or because the best cricketer. I mean, I had in my football team, I had two players who played for the local professional club, but I was the captain. So it wasn't because I was the best at what I did. It was because I positioned myself in a place of leadership. I spoke with authority. I made decisions. I told people what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. So though that mindset has to be you to think like a leader, um, and be bold in your decisions.
Hmm. Makes sense. How did you grow into being seen as a trusted advisor, not just a technician? What helped you build presence, trust, and influence?
Um, so the in terms of the trusted advisor, you've got to um, demonstrate your expertise. You've got to know what you're talking about, and you've got to show them that you know what you're talking about. The corporate way is holding seminars, webinars, and even these days, you've got LinkedIn, and you can do all those. You can write comments on LinkedIn and write pieces on LinkedIn where you're demonstrating your expertise. That works to a certain degree, but I think the biggest thing is you've got to go out, meet, greet, and speak to your peers because especially in this world, it's the people that you know and people who think you're experts. Uh, they're the ones that are going to pass you work on. Um, so you've got to demonstrate to those guys, your peers, that you are an expert because the peers they will refer you work, but they want to only refer work to people who firstly they like and get on with, but also they're sector experts in the industry because they don't want to give. work to someone who's going to make them look stupid because they want to know they want to be they want to take credit indirectly from referring their friends or their colleagues, their clients to an expert because they want to look good. So you've got to be able to demonstrate that you uh, know what you're doing. But then they you need to also be able to increase your you need to go out and about and make yourself known, increase your presence, and demonstrate that you know uh, uh, what you're talking about. But then there's also the fact that it's a numbers game sometimes as well. You've got to get yourself out a bit. You've got to be visible. Um, Going to networking events, going to other professional events, you've got to get out there because you could be the best insolvency practitioner in the world, but if you know no one, well, you're never going to win any work. You're never going to do any work. So you're never going to do anything. So you still need to get yourself out there as well and get known in the marketplace that you are the expert. This is what you do. Um, and this is how you deliver it. So there is an element of um, technical element where you've got to show people that you know what you're talking about. Don't give them the full secret. Don't give them the answer on day one. Uh, Drop a little bit of a carrot, so it demonstrates that you know what you're doing. But then it also is you need to get out and get people to know who you are and what you do. Because in this world, unfortunately, it's who you know, not what you know, that sometimes gets you into doors. So you have to get yourself out there. And that example of what I said is you could be the best uh, lawyer in the world, but if you don't know anyone, you're useless.
Many listeners are capable mid-career professionals doing high-level work and feeling stuck. Something they should start doing differently if they want to reach senior leadership.
Um, in terms of doing differently, I would say they need to start. So whatever the next role up level up is. So let's say they're currently assistant manager and they want to get to manager, they need to start performing at manager level. So, if it means they need to start managing teams or um, assisting people in making things happen or looking at other people's KPIs and making sure they're hitting targets, you need to start performing at manager level or the next level up to be able to say to your peers or your bosses, say, look, I'm already performing at that level. So I should be at that level already. So it's a case of looking at what the criteria is to hit that, to be able to get promoted into there and finding what you can do to actually start doing those activities. So I'll give you an example. One of my team, last year I promoted one of my assistant directors to a director, and the targets for the director was you need to start managing a team, you need to start, you need to have an insolvency license, you need to have a few other things in there, and I got him to do. He didn't hit all of them. He probably got 80% of them, but he's performing at that level, and it was near on impossible for the team or the HR to not give him a promotion because he was hitting targets which other directors weren't hitting. So, you've got to get to that position where you are doing things at a level where you want to be. So it's definitely a case of find out what your next level target, your next level is, and start delivering at that level because it's near on impossible to get promoted, near impossible not to get promoted. Um, and if internally you don't get promoted, someone externally will see that you're doing it. So there's going to be an opportunity externally if you're not internally. So definitely performing at above the level um, that you need to be.
Rehan, thank you for sharing your insights and experience and for showing us what leadership looks like from the inside out.
No worries.
For those listening, this is proof that senior leadership is about more than just working harder. It's about clarity, systems, mindset, and positioning yourself to lead with purpose. And remember, small shifts create a big impact. Till next time.